Perfect. Welcome to the January 27th meeting of the MCCSC Board of School Trustees. We ask that you please come to order. We're going to start with the celebration of success. This is a time set aside to celebrate members of our school community. Ms. Harmon?
Thank you, President Cooperman, Dr. Winston, the Board of Trustees, and community members. It's my pleasure to share this month's Excellence Spotlight. It's a feature of every regular Board of School Trustees meeting and is a dedicated time to honor the excellence occurring every day through the dedication of our employees, students, and volunteers who make a difference in our school community and foster environments that reflect our mission, vision, and core values. For January, we are proud to recognize the following students from Childs Elementary School: George Houchin, Jack Riviere, Oliver Staten, Jeffrey Zhang, for earning second place in the 2025 statewide computer science competition, CS for Good Elementary Division. The competition was held on December 3rd at the Indiana State House, challenged the students from across the state to design innovative technology solutions that positively impact their school communities. These students demonstrated exceptional creativity, problem solving, and technical skill through the project, a prototype for an AI-enabled leaf cleaning robot. Their design proposed a solution to help keep storm drains clear by chopping and removing leaves, a creative approach aimed at reducing flooding and improving community safety. Congratulations to you both, all. Are any of them here? No. The teacher is here. Can we recognize the teacher? And their teacher is Miss Abby Brass. Is that right? Yeah. Good to see you. Congratulations. We are also honored to recognize Pam Snyder, teacher assistant and locker room supervisor from Bloomington High School South. Pam is a true Panther whose creativity and dedication have made a lasting impact on our school community. Pam is not only an incredible staff member, but also an exceptionally talented artist. For years, she has helped bring our school to life, decorating hallways, painting windows, creating murals, hanging banners at games, and ensuring that our spaces shine bright for students, staff, and visitors alike. Congratulations, Pam, and thank you for all you do to make our school such a vibrant and inspiring place. Is Pam here this evening? All right. Thank you.
On behalf of the board, thank you, Ms. Harmon, and congratulations to all those who have been recognized tonight. We will now proceed to public comment. Thank you to all who signed up and acknowledged the guidelines to speak to the board tonight. As a reminder, Mrs. Butcher will ring the bell once to signal you have 30 seconds for your comment and 5 bells to signal your time has concluded. Our first speaker tonight is Alice Kilbride.
Good evening, Superintendent Winston and MCCSC Board of Trustees. My name is Alice Kilbride, and I'm here tonight as a parent and community member. I want the board to ask more questions about how schools are dealing with the 2-year strategy to sustaining excellence and fiscal transparency. The plan primarily revolves around adjusting staffing by not posting positions for new hires when teachers retire or resign. As seen in the personnel report this month, many teachers have resigned. If you compare that to job postings on the MCCS website, only 5 certified teaching positions are listed, and some are listed as temporary positions. Will these positions be eliminated this summer? What happens to the students who were in the teachers' classes for the positions that are not being filled? The students didn't disappear and still need education provided by a teacher. Not replacing a teacher who resigns mid-year is not strategic, it's convenient. As seen in the fiscal report in the board documents from January 6th, the demographic trends of our school corporation are showing an increase in the number of high-need students, percentage of special education, English language learners, and free and reduced students is increasing. For our teachers to successfully teach these students, class sizes should be lowered. The reduction in teachers at schools means that class sizes are getting larger. Dr. Henderson reported at a board meeting that the average class size went up by 1 student. This is misleading because the comparison is taking the total number of students in the corporation divided by the total number of certified staff. I would like to remind the board that not all certified staff are classroom teachers. Schools do not have the same number of students, and some services require small classes. As a parent, I'm disappointed when my daughter says her class sizes are huge, and she is worried that her pathway will be cut. Her pathway class is the smallest number of students in her course load. If a teacher leaves that position and doesn't get replaced, the pathway may disappear without any input from the community or parents. Again, ask questions about what creative solutions schools are using to counteract the loss of teachers and how transparent those solutions have been to parents and the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Seaforth Breeze.
Hello, my name is Seaforth Breeze. I'm a former student at Bloomington South, and I hope to keep my comment brief. It was mostly to bring attention to to ask what steps MCCSC might be planning to take to prepare for, ice operations, things of that nature. I have a sibling here who's currently going to North, and I know y'all aren't going to be responding to my public comment, but it is to ask just on a personal level if y'all thinking for yourselves going forward, what steps can be taken? How can we provide for students and their families if any such operations could happen? Just looking at everything that's happened in the Twin Cities, in Chicago, and LA, are there lessons learned that those school districts have taken from what is, occurring? Thank y'all so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Next, we have Jana Perrine. I may have said your name wrong. Please forgive me.
Jana Perot.
Perot, thank you.
Sorry.
No, that's
Pen
all right.
wasn't working very well. I'm going to reiterate the gentleman's comments. We've seen what's happened in Milwaukee and is continuing to happen. It didn't go away just because it got really horrible when 2 people were murdered through this process. But ICE is all over the country. It is operating. It is kidnapping children and parents. And the schools have a responsibility to make sure that there's a plan in place. When ICE shows up and the whistles go off, that you know what to do, that everybody in the building knows what to do, that the students and parents know what to do to avoid being kidnapped and dropped off somewhere in South Texas with nothing, no transportation or anything. This is a horrible situation, and it's really terrible, just like active shooter drills. It's just something we have to acknowledge. It happens. It's happening. And you need to be prepared. We need to be prepared as a community to respond to this. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Jenny Noble Kuchera.
Good evening, President Cooperman, Dr. Winston, and MCCSC School Board of Trustees. My name is Jenny Noble Kuchera, and I'm the proud president of the Monroe County Education Association. I speak tonight in opposition to the Board Resolution 2026-04, which, if passed, would allow $12,500,000 to be moved this year out of the Education Fund and into the Operations Fund. Just so that our larger community understands, the Education Fund pays for teachers who work with students. The Operations Fund pays primarily for buildings, transportation, maintenance, technology, and athletic facilities. Those are important pieces of our school community. And it also comes from our local property taxes, revenue that, as we all know, was significantly reduced under Senate Enrolled Act 1 in the spring of 2025. A portion of this property tax revenue is also sent away to charter schools. Since August of 2024, our number of full-time teachers has decreased from 834 to 757. We know what the state has not given us, but the toll that this takes on the teachers who are left is palpable. Fewer adults in a building means more work for everyone. The negative effect that this can have on students has larger long-term consequences for their academic well-being as well. In addition, everyone knows that smaller teacher-student ratios can positively impact kids' learning outcomes. While you may not see an immediate effect, if you pass this resolution, it's just seen as yet another cut to the morale of a lot of our teachers. What are we worth? The board's resolution, if passed, would move $12,500,000 from the education fund to the operations fund. In essence, this means more money for ball fields and furniture and less for the hiring and retaining of qualified professionals to work with students. Please consider all perspectives before you vote. Thank you.
Thank you. And last, we have Eric Nolan. Again, I may have mispronounced your name.
Hello, thank you. Hi, I'm Eric Nolan, and hello, members of the board, Dr. Winston, and the administrative team. Just to make sure I'm understanding, yeah, so what we're looking at is moving $12.5 million from the education fund to the operations fund. The education fund, again, is the one that pays for teacher salaries. At the same time, there's communication to the public that we need to right size, our teaching positions because there's not enough money to sustain them. So we're taking money from that fund that pays teachers while stating that we don't have enough money to pay teachers. In case I didn't say this already, I am speaking as a parent and community member. I am only representing myself. I think that citizens of Monroe County voted to support MCCSC teachers by passing the 2022 referendum. That referendum stated aim was to retain and hire the best teachers and support staff possible, because we know that quality supported teachers make the biggest difference in the lives of our children in our community. I know that the 2022 referendum funds were limited thanks to happenings in the State House. Regardless, I feel like MCCSC is breaking trust with our community when we continue to eliminate teaching positions, leading to larger class sizes and increased workload for the teachers remaining. Can we not find a way to utilize some of that $12.5 million to retain positions? Or should we look forward to continued cuts to teachers and support staff with associated consequences of that decision? Thank you.
Thank you. Oops. That concludes our public comments this evening. We'd like to thank everyone who provided comment this evening.
I'd like to just raise a brief point of information.
Sorry, my mic's not on. I'd like to raise a brief point of information.
You're recognized.
Thank you, President Cooperman. I want to say in response to a couple of comments about ICE that I do a great deal of work in the immigration and policy sort of side of things in another side of my work. So I work with Hoosier Asian American Power. We were the first organization in the state to offer a constitutional observer training, which is different from a legal observer training. And the ACLU Indiana has asked us to offer another one, both as an emergent sort of situation and in February. So we're doing that. I say this only to sort of make the point that, sort of very connected both on the policy side and to rapid response networks across the state regarding ICE. And in all of our work with these organizations across the Midwest region, one of our sort of closest partners is in Minneapolis right now. Their caution to us was that when it comes to your plans, especially safety plans for students in schools, you should be quiet about them. So I will say that this administration is very, very thorough in the work that they do to keep our students and our families and our staff safe. That was sort of demonstrated when we had to lock down 23 schools just this past week. They executed that safety plan in such expedience, with such expedience, and sort of resolved that issue very quickly. So what I want to say is to assume that the district and the board doesn't have a plan, I think would be erroneous. This district and this administration has a plan for everything. But just as with some other safety plans, we do not broadcast those publicly because they then no longer are safe. So I want to thank the community for their care and their response. about our students in the district, because there may be moments when the community is called on to sort of rally. And I also just want to reassure you that every single person at this table, and I'm speaking for us right now because I know the hearts of these people, cares about our students in this district. And so I just want those of you to leave here knowing that. Thank you, President Cooperman.
I'm sorry, ma'am. I'm gonna have to stop you, but I would thank you, April, for your comments, and honestly, I just echo that I feel fortunate to be part of a community that feels so passionately about this issue. Now I'm going to move on to the consent agenda. Feels a bit anticlimactic. So now for our consideration is the consent agenda that includes the following: minutes from the board meeting held on December 16th, 2025, minutes from the Board of Finance and Reorganization meeting held on January 6th, 2026, memorandum for the executive session on January 13th, 2026, ECA expenditures, overnight and out-of-state field trips, financial report, December 2025, appropriation balance report, December 2025, register of claims, January 27th, 2026, payroll register and payroll claims, December 2025. Do I have a motion regarding the approval of the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
It has been moved by Ashley and seconded by April that we approve the consent agenda as presented. All those in favor of approving the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against, no. Any abstentions? Motion carried. Next for our consideration are the donations. We have received donations of over $3,000. Thank you to all our donors. Your generosity is appreciated. Do I have a motion to accept the donations?
So moved.
Do I have a second? It's been moved by Aaron Wyatt and seconded by Asia to approve the donations, that we accept the donations as presented, excuse me. All those in favor of approving the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Against, say no. Any abstentions? The motion carries. Now for our consideration is the repeal of policy 3220.01, Teacher Appreciation Grant. Is there a motion to repeal policy 3220.01, Teacher Appreciation Grant as presented?
So moved.
Do I have a second? It's been moved by Ross and seconded by April that we repeal policy 3220.01, Teacher Appreciation Grant as presented. Ms. Harmon, do you have a comment?
Yes, thank you, President Cooperman, Dr. Winston, and members of the board. It is recommended that the board repeal policy 3220.01, the Teacher Appreciation Grant, due to a change in legislation. This policy was presented at the December 16th meeting. Policy 3220.01, Teacher Appreciation Grant, approved prior to January 27, 2026, is now deemed null and void and is no longer a valid policy of the Monroe County Community School Corporation. I so recommend.
Do we have any comments from the board? I just want to be clear because we are repealing a teacher appreciation grant, that this is in response to legislation, and we will replace this with a different type of teacher appreciation that's now being offered by the state. So this is in response to legislation, not an internal motivation.
President Cooperman, who seconded that?
Oh, I think it was April, moved by Ross and seconded by April. Yep, you're welcome. So any other comments from the board? All those in favor of approving the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Against, say no. Any abstentions? The motion carries. Next for our consideration is the recommendation to adopt Resolution 2026-03, Teacher Appreciation Grant. Do I have a motion to adopt Resolution 2026-03 as presented?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Ross and seconded by Tiana that we adopt Resolution 2026 as presented. Any comments from the board? Lost my place in my script. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Sorry, Miss. Cancel that vote.
Cancel that.
Ms. Harmon, did you have a comment?
I do. Thank you, President Cooperman, Dr. Winston, and members of the board. Resolution 2026-03, the Teacher Appreciation Grant Stipend payments, follows guidance from Indiana Code 204316 and the Indiana Department of Education, and is a stipend to an individual teacher in a particular year who has met the eligibility criteria. I recommend that the board adopt this resolution, which approves the following. The superintendent of schools is specifically authorized to pay supplemental payment stipends to identify teachers through TAG. The supplemental payment stipends authorized herein are one-time supplemental payments and shall not be added to the base salary of any teacher receiving such stipend. And the superintendent of schools is instructed to distribute all TAG stipends in accordance with requirements established by the IDOE. I so recommend.
Thank you, Ms. Harmon. Now, do I have any comments from the board? Thanks, Val. I'm new here, so thanks for your patience. Okay, so now let's vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any against, say no. Any abstentions? The motion carries. Next for our consideration is the personnel report. Do I have a motion to approve the personnel report as presented?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thanks, Ross. The motion it's been moved by Ashley and seconded by Ross that we approve the personnel as presented. Dr. Henderson?
President Cooperman, Dr. Winston, and members of the Board of School Trustees. This evening, I would like to call to your attention the following administrative appointments and retirements. Administrative appointment, Gretchen Hunser, Director of Child Nutrition. Gretchen joins MCCSC after serving as the Assistant Director for School Nutrition Programs for the Indiana Department of Education, where she has served in various capacities since 2013. Gretchen holds a bachelor's degree in hospitality and food management from Ball State University. Gretchen joins us this evening in the audience and would like to invite her up to the podium for just a second to address the board.
Hello. Thank you all so much for this opportunity. I'm very excited to get started and serving our MCCSC students and staff. Thank you.
In addition, I would like to point out the certified staff retirements before you this evening. Joseph Donnelly. Mr. Donnelly has been serving the students of MCCSC for 14 years, most recently as a music teacher and director of band, choir, and drama at Jackson Creek Middle School. Support staff retirements on the agenda this evening are Terry Mayer. Terry has been serving the students of MCCSC over the course of 24 and a half years, most recently serving as a bus monitor for MCCSC. Altogether, the retirees presented this evening represent a combined total of 38 and a half years of service to our school community. And on behalf of the Monroe County Community School Corporation, I would like to extend a special thank you to these individuals for their many years of dedicated service and wish them well in their next adventures. At this time, I request that you please approve the recommendations as presented in your board packet in the personnel report.
Thank you, Dr. Henderson. Do I have any comments from the board? I'd just like to say welcome, Gretchen. Child nutrition is kind of one of our gold stars in the corporation, so we're excited to have you. And congratulations to everyone retiring. All those in favor of approving the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Any against, say no. Do I have any abstentions? Motion carries. Next for our consideration is the collective bargaining agreement with the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, or AFSCME, Local 3995. Do I have a motion to approve the collective bargaining agreement with AFSCME as presented?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Ross and seconded by Aaron Wyatt that we approve the collective bargaining agreement with AFSCME as presented. Dr. Henderson?
President Cooperman, Dr. Winston, and members of the Board of School Trustees, please approve the collective bargaining agreement between the Monroe County Community School Corporation and the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, AFSCME Local 3995, for the 2026 and 2027 calendar years for all AFSCME support staff groups effective January 1st, 2026. There is no pay increase. Stipends are awarded to AFSCME employees based on a position's gross yearly wage without overtime, and our medical, vision, and dental insurance contributions and rates align with and are equitable with the new MCEA agreement.
Thank you, Dr. Henderson. Do I have any comments from the board?
I just want to thank everyone who worked on this contract and this sort of bargaining agreement. I want to thank them, but I also just want to say that, I am grateful that our district continues to sort of value the bargaining process. And for some of our community who may not know, we're one of the only districts who has a bargaining sort of agreement with their support staff in this way. And so I think it is unique and just sort of worth calling out.
Thank you. Any other comments from the board? Dr. Winston?
Yes, I just wanted to take this moment to extend my appreciation to Randy Tackett and his bargaining team. They were very wonderful to work with, and we're so appreciative. And I would like to also just acknowledge members of my executive team, our CFO, our assistant superintendent for HR, and our assistant superintendent for curriculum for the tireless hours that they spent alongside AFSCME in coming to a workable agreement in the midst of the challenges that we all know everyone in the state is facing. So thank you to Randy and thank you to my team.
Thank you, Dr. Winston. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Against, say no. Any abstentions? The motion carries. Next for our consideration are the non-union support staff and administrative salary and benefits schedule. Do I have a motion to approve the non-union support staff and administrative salary and benefits schedule as presented?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Ashley and seconded by April that we approve the non-union support staff and administrative salary and benefits schedule as presented. Dr. Henderson?
Thank you, President Cooperman, Dr. Winston, and members of the Board of School Trustees. Please approve the non-union support staff and administrators' salary and benefits schedule as presented in your board packet for the 2026 and 2027 calendar years. No increase to base pay. Stipends awarded to non-union support staff are based on a position's gross yearly wage without overtime. Stipends awarded to certified support staff and administrators align with stipends awarded to teachers. And medical, vision, and dental insurance contributions and rates align with and are equitable with the new MCEA and AFSCME agreements.
Thank you, Dr. Henderson. Do we have any comments from the board? All those in favor of approving the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any against, say no. Any abstentions? The motion carries. We will move to contracts. Do I have a motion to approve the contracts, quotes, and bids as presented?
So moved.
Do I have a second? It's been moved by Ross and seconded by Asia that we approve the contracts, quotes, and bid as presented. Mr. Irwin?
Thank you. All the contracts have been reviewed through our normal process. There's two contracts that I do want to make note of. One is the E&B paving and one is the Verigy contract. Both of these projects are part of our Designing and Building to Sustain Excellence project, and they're both budgeted through the 2025 lease rental bonds that we sold a few months ago. The Verigy project specifically falls in line with our continued efforts to offset our electricity consumption. The past projects have netted the MCCSC over $500,000 of savings to our operations fund, in addition to the IRS rebates that we have submitted for and await arrival from the federal government. I recommend all contracts as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Irwin. Do we have any comments from the board? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Any against, say no. Any abstentions?
I'm going to abstain.
Okay, thank you, Ashley. The motion carries with one abstention. Next for our consideration is the recommendation to adopt Resolution 2026-04, transferring amounts from the Education Fund to the Operations Fund. Do I have a motion to adopt Resolution 2026-04 as presented?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Ross and seconded by April that we adopt Resolution 2026-04 as presented. Mr. Irwin?
Yeah, so this is an annual ask of the board. We're required to set an amount of transfer from education to the operations fund. We're required to stay below 15%. This dates back to 2019 when they changed the fund structures of which we operate underneath. When they took expenses that were in the general fund, they moved those to the newly created operations fund, and they did not move the revenue to go along with it. This is an up to amount. It's not the planned amount that we plan to move from the education fund to the operations fund. We transferred 5.8% this past year from the education fund to the operations fund. And that's extremely low in comparison to a lot of school corporations across the state. So we are well within the guidelines set forth in the state. That was predetermined by the state based on the movement of funds and how they changed the allocation of funds. And again, this is an up to amount so that we're not going back and rechanging this every time that we need to change something. So it is an up to amount. It is not the amount that we plan to transfer from education to operations.
Thank you, Mr. Irwin. Are there any comments from the board?
Yes.
Yep.
So I went back and I did some looking because I did see this on our agenda. And in the past 3 to 4 years, we've set that up to amount of 15 million rather than the 12.5 that we set it this year. And again, it is an up to amount. So it's not as if this is something new that we're doing in January of 2026 based on what's been going on. This is a standard accounting procedure basically based on state legislation, if I understand it correctly.
We're required to have a resolution that allows the transfer of funds from education operations. And again, we set that up to amount to protect ourselves so that we're not coming back and continuing to make adjustments month in and month out.
Okay, thank you.
I have two questions. One is, since MCEA did speak on this topic, was this topic at all discussed already in discussion?
It's not a part of discussion, no.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, I assume so, but I just wanted to check. My other question is, I mean, Mr. Irwin, what would you say to Mr. Nolan's comment earlier that that this is a disingenuous use of our funds and that it lacks transparency to our community?
So, as I stated before, they changed the fund structure from which we operate. The property tax levy that we receive is not enough to cover the expenses that come into the operations fund. So when they moved those expenses that were already in the general fund and they renamed that the education fund, they created an operations fund and moved the personnel, but not the funding that goes with it, which is why they had to allow us to transfer from education to operations because of the way that they changed the way that we account for expenditures of personnel. So again, there's a lot of school corporations in the state that do transfer 15%, and that's varying in reasons and why, but it is very common that is 10% and above, and we were at 5.8% this past year, which is something I'm pretty proud of.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's something to be proud of. Thank you for that.
Are there other comments from the board?
Nope, April stole mine.
Okay.
I had the same question I was going to ask
We'll put that
about
in.
that. So thank you.
All right. All those in favor of approving the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Against, say no. Any abstentions? The motion carries. Next, we will consider approval of the 2028-2029 school calendar. Do I have a motion to approve the 2028 to 2029 school calendar as presented?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Ross and seconded by Tiana that we approve the 2028-2029 school calendar as presented. Dr. Winston?
Yes, I'd like to ask that you accept the recommendation of the school calendar for 28-29 school year. The proposal follows previous year's calendar timelines, and it also aligns closely with Indiana University and Bloomington dates for winter and spring break. School for the 28-29 school year will begin on August 7th, 2028. Fall break has been extended by 1 extra day. 2 built-in snow days are included, as in previous years, and efforts were made to ensure that semesters were as equal as possible as could be in length, with the first semester ending prior to winter break. I so recommend.
Thank you, Dr. Winston. Are there any comments from the board?
Just to clarify, did you say August 7th?
I did.
Because it says August 4th. That's what's the thing in front of me.
Yes. Let me look at the actual calendar. It is actually, well, I've got both. Which is correct.
Start the 7th. The 4th is early.
It's a Friday.
So it is August 4th. I apologize for my notes being incorrect.
You just got
Can we
people
just
excited.
move it to the 7th? It was
You wouldn't get the
starting
right
on a
number of days.
Friday. It's so weird.
It would mess up our balance of our semester.
Any other comments from the board?
I'm sorry.
Am I correct in saying that we only have 1 snow makeup day built in?
2.
2? Okay. Then I'm blind.
I think the first.
Oh, okay, President's Day. It was in a different color.
Yeah.
Same color.
May 25th and February 19th.
Yes. I see now.
You just blended the 2 colors. It's okay. So we have to start on a Friday? That is the recommendation.
Ease the students back in.
I'm just joking.
What's the last day? The 24th?
Wow.
Yeah,
And
we
the
were out before.
25th, oh, I see, would be the teacher record day.
Yes.
It would also be a snow makeup day. And then what happens to the 28th? So, like,
That's-
it says,
The 28th is Memorial Day.
oh, duh, okay, yeah. All right.
Is everybody done verbally processing the 28,
You gave us
2021
hope.
calendar?
August 7th.
Any other comments from the board? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I-ish.
Any against say no.
I'm kidding, I'm
Ish.
kidding. Aye.
We're going to
It's an
take
aye.
that as an aye. Any a reluctant aye? Any noes? Any abstentions? The motion carries. Tonight's first district update is diverse learners, special education. Ms. Harmon.
Good evening, President Cooperman, Dr. Winston, Board of Trustees, and community members. As Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum, Instruction, and Assessment, the Special Education Department and services they provide is an essential component of what we do. For this presentation, I'll be joined by our Director of Special Education, Dr. Blaine Garman-McLean. Tonight's presentation is designed to give you a clear picture of how special education operates as part of our overall instructional system, not as a separate program, but as a core part of how we ensure every student in MCCSC can learn, grow, and thrive. We will walk you through who our students are, how services are delivered, how we staff and fund this work, and what the student experience looks like across different levels of support. Throughout, our focus is on how we build a system that is both legally sound and instructionally strong. Here's the overview for tonight. We'll start by grounding ourselves in who our students are and the core goals that drive our work. Then we'll walk through the system of supports from inclusive classroom practices to intensive programming and how those supports are staffed and funded. We'll also highlight what this looks like for students and families because special education is not abstract. It is something that plays out every day in our classrooms, in therapies, and in partnerships with families. The goal is by the end of this presentation, you have a clear understanding of both the structure of our special education system and how it connects directly to teaching, learning, and student outcomes. At our last board presentation, we centered our corporation's work around the 3 outcomes for all students: literacy, numeracy, and college, career, and life readiness. Special education exists to ensure that all students with disabilities are not excluded from those goals, but instead have full access to them. The purpose of this department is to make sure every student, regardless of learning need, disability, or circumstance, has the supports necessary to make progress towards those outcomes of literacy, numeracy, college, career, and life ready. That means some students need accommodations, some need specialized instruction, some need intensive services for a period of time, but the end goal is always the same: access, growth, and meaningful participation in learning that prepares them for life and beyond school. What you will see throughout tonight's presentation is how this system of support is intentionally designed to meet students where they are while still keeping them connected to the same high expectations and opportunities as their peers. With that foundation in place, I'd like to turn it over to our Director of Special Education, Dr. Blaine Garman-McLean.
Good evening, President Cooperman, Dr. Winston, members of the board, and the community. Thanks for allowing me to present on special education and MCCSC tonight. So, first of all, special education is grounded in state and federal statutes. So laws such as the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act and Article 7 in Indiana establish clear non-negotiables that public school corporations across the state have to comply with. For example, we have to provide free, appropriate public education to all students ages 3 to 22. We have to conduct and identify individual students who are suspected of having a disability who live within MCCSC catchment zones. We have to develop individualized education programs that are aligned with students' needs, support students in the least restrictive environment, and provide meaningful participation from parents and students that are rooted in procedural safeguards. These requirements form the foundation of our work. They ensure consistency, equity, and access for all students and families. At the same time, our approach in MCCSC is not driven by compliance alone. Instead, these legal obligations directly align with our mission and vision to serve all learners. We view the law as the starting point for how we design supports and services for students. Now, a little bit about our students. The students we serve represent a wide range of strengths, ages, and educational settings. MCCSC currently provides special education services to more than 2,100 students. Most of these students are enrolled in our PK through 12 schools, while others are enrolled in private schools, non-public schools in our catchment zones, and early learning settings. Federal law requires public school corporations to identify and support all students living in our catchment zone, even if they are not enrolled in MCCSC schools. So our services extend well beyond our classrooms. To support this range of learners, we align services, staffing, and funding to meet their needs. And first, I'll begin by explaining how services are delivered across different levels of student need. But first, I'd like to take a moment to explain the continuum of services in MCCSC. We provide a full continuum of service ranging from general education with accommodations to highly specialized programs. Importantly, this continuum reflects the levels of support that students need at any given time in their educational journey. Students move along this continuum based on individualized needs, and placements are reviewed regularly to ensure they remain appropriate. And so now I'll speak a little bit about inclusive practices. These are instructional approaches, not placements for students. Most of our students, in fact, receiving special education services, spend the majority of their day in general education classrooms alongside their peers. Most specifically noted by the yellow box there, representing 82% of students receiving special education services spend 80% or more of their day alongside students in the general education setting. Specially designed instruction is not something that happens apart from the classroom. It happens within it. Through co-teaching, targeted small group instruction, and differentiated materials and strategies, supports are embedded directly into daily instruction. General and special education teachers alike share responsibility for student outcomes, combining content expertise with instructional scaffolding and differentiation. When done well, this approach produces meaningful results. For example, in 2024-25 school year, we saw the percentage of second grade students with disabilities passing IREAD double, or approximately 93% of MCCSC ninth graders who receive special education services were on track to graduate in 4 years, a metric we closely monitor for all ninth grade students at the secondary level. These statistics provide a clear indicator that inclusive, intentional instruction can significantly improve outcomes. But some students require more intensive, highly structured supports. For intensive programming, it's not a place, but rather a level of individualized instruction aligned to students' IEP goals. These environments feature small group sizes, increased adult support, evidence-based instructional approaches, and strong family partnerships. An example of this work, we have a level of adult support to students receiving intensive programming. More specifically, there is one adult for every 2 students receiving intensive programs in MCCSC. These programs are essential to ensure students with the most significant needs receive appropriate and meaningful instruction. Another example of sustaining excellence can be seen in outcomes for students who participate in Indiana's alternate assessment, IM. Among the 20 school corporations in the state with the highest number of alternate test takers, MCCSE ranks 8th in the percentage of students demonstrating proficiency in both English language arts and mathematics. This reflects the strength of our intensive programming and the intentional focus on high quality instruction. In addition to instruction, we provide a range of related services directly related to students' IEP goals by licensed professionals. These services, such as speech or occupational therapy, counseling, behavioral support, and transportation, are integrated into students' school days based on individual need. They are designed to support access, independence, and progress towards IEP goals. Delivering these services, though, as you can imagine, in a highly specialized way, requires a collaborative workforce. So now, I'll briefly review our staffing structure. MCCSC employs over 300 special education faculty and staff. This includes supporting both mild and intensive needs, instructional assistants, also known as paraprofessionals, behavior specialists, school psychologists, mental health therapists, and special education coordinators. Each role contributes expertise, allowing us to design and respond to students' need across all settings. This investment ensures safety, instructional quality, and consistency. Special education services and supports in MCCSC are supported through a combination of local and state and federal funding. While federal funding plays an important role, the majority of costs are borne locally and through state tuition support. This underscores the district's commitment to meeting student needs beyond minimal requirements, yet demonstrates that federal funding at the time is insufficient. To bring this system to life, I'd like to share 2 brief examples of how special education supports look for individual students. Student A. Student A represents a learner whose needs are best met primarily within the general education environment, with targeted, intentional supports layered in. In the elementary years, Student A learns alongside peers in the general education classroom with specially designed instruction embedded into daily routines. A special education teacher collaborates closely with classroom teacher to provide targeted small group reading and language support, while accommodations ensure access to grade level content. Speech and language services are integrated into instruction, focusing not only on skill development, but also on classroom communication and academic vocabulary. Progress is monitored regularly, and supports are adjusted as needed. Student A transitions into middle and high school, the nature of support becomes more strategic and increasingly student-centered. Instruction shifts from foundational skill development toward helping students access more complex tasks, assignments, and assessments across multiple content areas. Co-taught courses provide structure and scaffolding within rigorous coursework, while accommodations are consistently applied. A special education teacher coordinates these services, monitors progress, and works closely with content area teachers to ensure alignment between IEP goals and coursework standards and expectations. Over time, IEP goals evolve from foundational academic skills that support success beyond high school. This progression reflects how special education supports are designed to be and change over time, maintaining access and belonging while building independence and readiness for life after graduation. And for student B represents a learner whose needs are more requiring of intensive, highly structured supports delivered through specialized programming. In the elementary years, student B learns primarily within a specialized classroom designed to provide predictive routines, explicit instruction, and high level of adult support. Instruction is individualized and delivered in small group or one on one throughout the day with a strong focus on communication, social interaction, self regulation, and foundational academic skills. Sensory or behavioral supports are embedded into daily routines, creating an environment that supports engagement and learning. Related services are integrated seamlessly into instruction and daily activities rather than provided in isolation. As student B transitions into middle school and high school, programming remains highly structured, but becomes increasingly focused on functional application and independence. Instruction expands to include functional academics, executive functioning, life skills, and vocational exploration. Transition planning becomes a central driver of instructional decisions, with IEP goals aligned to post secondary outcomes such as employment, independent living, and community participation. Over time, intensive programming shifts from primary skill acquisition toward preparing the student for life after high school. This example provides how intensive special education programming is intentionally designed to evolve with the student, ensuring supports remain responsive, individualized, and outcome focused. In closing, special education in MCCSC is a comprehensive system designed to ensure access, growth, and opportunity for every student. Thank you for your continued support of our students, staff, and their families.
Thank you, Dr. Garman McLean and Ms. Harmon. Are there any comments from the board? Just generally, thank you so much. This is, I think, one of the most important things we do as a school corporation. I really appreciate the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we will have the initial CFO financial update. Dr. Winston, would you like to begin?
Yes, I would. Thank you very much, President Cooperman. One vital indicator regarding the fiscal health of an organization is the cash flow balances of the various funding sources within our school corporation. Our Board of School Trustees has prioritized their number one goal, which is achieving financial balance. To that end, tonight, we will begin to provide regular updates on our cash balances. Approximately 11 months ago, we began providing quarterly financial transparency updates, and this is just a continuation and possibly an extension of that level of transparency. We believe it's very important that our community understand the inflows and the outflows of our dollars, and that they understand the importance of this particular financial indicator. I've asked our CFO, Matt Irwin, to provide an update on a regular basis so that our entire community can gain in their understanding of school finances. So I'll turn it now over to Mr. Irwin.
Oh, thank you. I'm really excited about this process. Obviously, you guys are getting the snapshots, but just the opportunity to talk through some of the things that continue to change or that we continue to see throughout the school year. And also for people to continue to understand that we're tracking these things and monitoring these things throughout the year and making adjustments of how we operate or what it is that we're seeing, especially as it relates to the projections that I do with cash flow. So the purpose is we're going to go through the five major funds. The five major funds being the education fund, both referendum funds, the operations fund, and the debt service fund. That encompasses about 90+% of the expenditures and revenue that come into the school corporation. So obviously for those obvious reasons, that's the focus of what it is that we'll talk about. And as we get into the slides, I want to just point you to some of the things that continue to change, the things that are of note, the pieces that are important as you guys continue to monitor and track this as we send these things to you. And then as people are able to view them as we talk about, the monthly financials that are in the board report, or the items that Dr. Winston will talk a little bit later about the financial transparency portal as well. So we're making a lot of efforts on this in a lot of different ways, but I'm excited about this education piece at its heart. So that's why I started as a teacher. So come back to this piece. I think it's important because I think it helps people understand the nuances and just some of the different things that occur throughout the year to kind of know what's normal and what's not normal. So we'll start with the education fund. One of the things that happened during the month of December, and I'm speaking specifically as far as how the year ended in this, and that's why I have monthly specifics and year-end specifics. But in the monthly specifics for December, in tuition support, our tuition support payment was updated. Tuition support is the payment that we receive for the state based on our student enrollment. That student tuition support is made up of 5 different categories. One of those categories is the academic performance grant. So once a year, they update and reconcile the numbers of which we have the performance of our graduating classes, and they update our funding based on that. Now, in that categorical grant, the funding was reduced in this legislative session by about 0.5%. But overall, with the academic outcomes of our graduating class from 2025 and the graduating class from 2024, the funding remains about as level gets. What's different is that from the beginning of this fiscal year, they had not been giving us money for the dual credits earned. For our graduating class of 2024, they wait till reconcile to add that. And so that will increase our tuition support payment because now they'll start to add in the funding that's associated with the dual credit attainment of some of our students from the 2024 graduating cohort. So that's made up of 2 pieces. That's something that happens. They'll update the tuition support payment, but that occurred during the month of December. And then looking forward, the special education grant, as was stated in the previous presentation, that also they take a census on that number for us corporation-wide. That's the December 1 count. And then that is the funding from which we receive for an entire year until they update that count. They'll reconcile and update that funding in February. So that is upcoming. So just putting that on your radar as well. And the big thing is in the monthly is we're looking at projections and how actuals come in. And so I'm evaluating whether or not my projections, I use the term finger on the pulse, as far as knowing what it is that's going on in the school corporation and what we expect to expend and what we expect to receive in these 5 major funds on a month in and month out basis. And so the goal is for those to be very accurate, obviously, and slightly conservative. I try not to be uber aggressive in how I project those numbers because I don't want to sell something that isn't as realistic. I want it to be realistic, accurate, and conservative. And so that is where the numbers came in December, and so that's a great thing. A couple of year-end specifics as it relates to the education fund is that the important piece is that we stayed within the budget guardrails that were approved by the Department of Local Government Finance. Remember that our budget sets appropriation, and appropriation is simply the authority to spend. So when they give us our certified budget and they certify what our budget is, that's the appropriation that they've given us permission, that they've said you have the revenue and the cash on hand to fund those expenditures. So we stayed within those guardrails. So it's important to note that. And then again, just wanted to note that our cash balance ended above the November quarterly update, which is obviously a good thing as well. Again, accurate and conservative. We ended above that number, and that's a great thing. We'll move to the 2022 referendum fund, and some of these tax levied funds some of the information will be a little bit redundant, but again, it helps you kind of grasp what it is that's normal and reoccurring and how these funds operate. So we receive property tax distributions 2 times a year, and so we received our December disbursement of property tax dollars in the 2022 referendum fund. The DLGF, or the Department of Local Government Finance, puts out a circuit breaker report in usually about April, May, that gives us an estimation as to what it is that we expect to receive in our levies after they've done some updating with assessed value. Our number, when I look at that report, I'm usually using that as a gauge to say, from a projection standpoint, what can we expect to receive based on this updated information? And then I usually try to take something that's a little bit more conservative of that number. It was slightly lower than that, but our collection was good. We collected 98% of levy in the 2022 referendum. One of the other things that changed the revenue being a little bit lower in the 2022 referendum and some of our other tax levied funds was that the legislature made a move where all commercial vehicle excise tax and financial institution tax is only deposited into the operations fund now going forward. So that started with our December settlement, and moving forward will be that way. And prior to that, it was spread across all of our property tax levied funds. So that was something that changed. But again, expenses across line items were very accurate, slightly below projections, and that's what we want to see. Again, we were within our approved budget. And again, cash balance as it relates to the 2022 referendum was about spot on as it relates to the November quarterly projection. And so from that standpoint, it's reassuring when those projections remain accurate. The 2023 referendum, there's some of that redundant information, and so I won't continue to reiterate those pieces. But again, for those same reasons in the 2023 referendum, as related to the 2022 referendum, there's some little bit of difference as far as revenue received. And again, that CVET and FIT going to the operations fund reduces that as well. But again, expenses very accurate, slightly below projections, what we want to see. We were within budget. And our cash balance is down from January 1 to this end of December, but that's as we continue to manage early learning in this new referendum. We're not very far into this referendum, but we are headed in a positive direction. We're continuing to figure that out as we manage the growth of early learning. Quite frankly, when a lot of other school corporations have not been able to expand early learning or are wondering how they're going to continue to be able to provide it, we are fortunate enough to have this referendum that allows us to not only fund it, but we're able to expand it this year and continue to provide access to students with quality programming. So very proud of that, but making note of those cash balances. The operations fund, it was the benefactor of revenue bolstered through CVET and FIT, which is the commercial vehicle excise tax and financial institution tax. Our levy collection was essentially about 100%, just below it, which is fantastic. We don't experience a whole lot of circuit breaker loss, which is less revenue that you receive than what the DLGF has said that you would be able to levy for. So we didn't experience a whole lot of that, and we don't typically, and so that's a good thing for us. Again, projections of expenses very accurate. We did pay back the tax anticipation warrant that we received back earlier in the first half of this year. That was money received in order for cash flow purposes and our tax levy funds. We go about 6 months without revenue coming in. So you have to bridge that gap. And so as we've navigated being in a place where we talked about our cash balances not having the appropriate safety nets in place right now, that tax anticipation warrant was very much needed in order to help us manage that cash flow until the next property tax disbursement came in. We sent back that principal and as well as the interest that we paid for holding those funds back to the Indiana Bond Bank. We did stay within appropriation as far as budget goes within this fund. Cash balance ended up ahead of where we projected with the quarterly report in November. So that is obviously a great thing as we talk about all the challenges that the operations fund experiences due to SEA 1 and some of the other factors that we're working through. We will do a little bit smaller tax anticipation warrant this year. Back in November, you guys approved our ability to go back and participate in that program again. We are not going to need 10.3 like we did this past year. We are only going to do $3 million in TAW. For this year, the goal is that as we continue to position ourselves and get the appropriate safety nets and cash balances in place, that we won't need to do this moving forward. So that is where we're headed. That is the job that you tasked us with achieving financial balance. And so that is the goal that we're working towards. Last but not least, just talking about the debt service fund. Again, property tax levy fund, we received that property tax disbursement. We were made whole. We received 100% of that levy. All debt payments were made by the required deadlines. Again, this fund essentially functions as the purpose of us repaying our bond obligations. The payment schedule on those is pretty close to money in, money out as it relates to that property tax disbursement coming in and the timing of when those bonds are payable. So all debt payments were made by that required deadline. And that's why I said fund activity aligned to expectations. Again, within budget, and then a cash balance ended essentially where we expected it to go. So as we go through this in a month-by-month basis, I'm excited to do this with you and just continue to talk about some of the things that we see or that we're looking at or that happened throughout the year. I think it'll be a great opportunity for the board and the public to learn a little bit more about some of the things that go on inside MCCSC. And as we try to do our best to educate about what it is that we're doing and how we're approaching what it is that we have going on in MCCSC. So I appreciate your time, and I will take any questions that you have.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Irwin. I just want to take a moment to say this is one of the most important tasks that Mr. Irwin and I engage in on a very regular and consistent basis. It is the best indicator for understanding and managing, quite frankly, the financial health of the organization. And so he and I have hours upon hours of discussion about all the minutia that goes into the cash flow reports. It's the number one thing that I ask of him, and it's the number one thing that we talk about. And so it's important to me that as an audience, while it may be somewhat boring to you, I think if you really want to understand and be actively engaged in the financial health of our organization, it really is important that all of us listen intently to heighten our understanding, because that's part of our goal, is to make sure that you have questions, that we answer those questions, and that we continue to be as transparent as possible. So I just want to say thank you so very much for your leadership in this area, Mr. Irwin. I think that it's going to benefit everyone in our community and our board equally. So that concludes our presentation.
Thank you. I have a question.
Yeah, of course.
So I really appreciate this, this new effort to demonstrate cash flow and just talk the community and the board through that. And I appreciate the sort of ongoing move towards fiscal, like just transparency. Mr. Irwin, can you remind me, do all of our employees' salaries get paid out of the education fund?
No, they don't. So some of them are out of the education fund, some are out of the operations fund, some are out of the referendum funds. Debt service, there are none, because we're not allowed to spend salary, wages, and benefits out of the debt service fund. But all those other funds have staff wages and benefits in them. SBOA, or State Board of Accounts, dictates to us what places you're going to account for certain expenditures, right? So it kind of gets back in a little bit of that conversation as it relates back to the transfer.
That's right.
We are prescribed to account for certain expenditures in certain funds, and so that's the way that we do it, because that's the way that it's prescribed to us to do.
That's right. Yeah, I thought that I remembered that we pay for employee salaries both out of education and operation and referendum funds. I think that's important for the community to know and to hear at this point. I think that was my only question on this.
Are there other questions from the board?
Yeah. So, and again, Mr. Irwin, as a clarifying point again for us and for the community, projects that we approved tonight, for instance, the project at Bloomington North, the solar project by Verigy, those are paid, and it's specified that they're paid through our lease bonds. Just to be clear, the debt service fund is what pays that back, and that's its own property tax levy source of funding, correct?
That is correct.
That can be commingled with other funds.
That is correct.
Okay. I wanted to be sure.
Yes.
That I was clear on that.
Thank you. I appreciate the updates. Hope the board does as well. I know it's a lot of work, and I know that numbers can be really tedious and boring for those of us that don't work in them every day, but I really appreciate that you always make it digestible and easy to understand.
Yeah, I would echo that, because I mean, I don't work in numbers, and I find numbers sometimes boring, but you don't make it boring. You make it interesting.
I appreciate that.
I mean,
I'll take that pat on the back. Thank you.
I mean, I'm telling you, since you started explaining this, it makes sense to me. So thank you.
All right. My students tell me I don't pause long enough for questions, so I'm trying to do better here.
Any other wait time, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm not comfortable with silence. Are there any other comments from the board? Thank you, Mr. Irwin. Thank you, Dr. Winston. Are we doing another? No.
Nope.
No. There we go. Tonight, we will provide our community with a short yet important update on the current Indiana legislative session. Dr. Winston, would you like to begin?
Sure. The 124th General Assembly is in a short session right now, and the deadline for the completion of this work is February 27th. So there's a lot of activity going on. There have been to date approximately 700 bills that have been filed, and of those 700, approximately 73 address K-12 education matters. Board Member Hennessy is going to highlight a couple of them just for your awareness.
Thank you, Dr. Winston. So a few bills that we're watching are SB 78, and so this is a cell phone use in school bill. This bill would prohibit the use of cell phones in schools for the entire school day. School corporations, school boards will be required to pass a policy to either prohibit them from being in schools or for storing them for the entire day. So we are obviously keeping a close eye on that. The other one that we're watching right now is SB 199, so this is with regard to social media. This bill prohibits the use of social media accounts by children 13 and younger. Dr. Winston, do you have the last comments on this, or do I?
You do.
Okay. As this year's legislative session winds down over the next month or so, please continue to make your voices heard by calling, texting, or emailing your legislators. On our website, under the Board of School Trustees tab, there is a link to our area legislators and these monthly updates. Let's all do our part to speak up and stand united in support of our students in K-12 public education. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Board Member Hennessy. This doesn't say to pause for board comments, but are there any comments from the board? I'm doing it. I'm going rogue. All right, we look forward to receiving these monthly updates during the legislative sessions. Are there any other reports or comments from the boards or the committees that they sit on? Thank you, everyone. And finally, Dr. Winston, do you have any additional information you would like to share tonight?
I do have a couple things. Thank you. Last Thursday, we and several other schools were in the unfortunate position of being informed by the Bloomington Police Department that there was a non-specific threat to student safety in Bloomington area schools. We immediately enacted all safety protocols and placed all 23 of our schools on lockdown. During our lockdown, our teachers continued to provide instruction in their classrooms, while our school resource officers, security staff, and administrators conducted full school-wide sweeps. We received assistance from local authorities as they patrolled our schools to secure the perimeter of our buildings and to provide additional support as necessary. It is important for everyone to know that our top priority is always to ensure the health, safety, and well-being of our students and our staff. Our teams did exactly that. At no time were any members of our 10,000 plus students or 2,000 employees at risk or in harm's way. Once we were able to confirm that the threat was not real and that it was a swatting call, and that everyone was safe and not at risk, we pivoted to our next priority, which was to inform our families. We understand that families may have questions while our safety teams are actively investigating a situation, and we are committed to sharing information as soon as we can do so without compromising the safety efforts of our students or our staff. As part of our normal protocol, my team and I conducted an after-action review whereby we discussed what happened while focusing on identifying opportunities for making improvements. We learned one or two things as a result of our after-action review. This incident has prompted us to continue to study all of our systems and processes very carefully. We do that on a regular basis already. We learned that there is a balance between the urgency with making sure that students and staff are safe, our very first and ultimately our most important priority, investigating the situation to assess if there is an actual threat, and informing our parents. Understandably, our parents want to know the moment we know something. In the best case scenario, we would secure the safety of thousands of students and staff. We would coordinate with the local authorities. We would investigate the threat, all while communicating simultaneously with our families. The reality is that we will always ensure the safety of our students and staff first and foremost. Once their safety is confirmed, and quite frankly, not a moment before, then we will notify our families. The second thing that we learned is that while the majority of our family and staff notifications went out on schedule, we learned that some of our families experienced delays in receiving our message, and we are addressing that. It was absolutely unacceptable that the system did not work as intended. In closing, we remain committed to providing a safe and secure environment in every one of our schools, in every one of our offices. Our schools regularly practice our school safety plans that were created in partnership with local law enforcement, and our employees are trained in school safety response protocols. We take every report regarding student and staff safety seriously, and we remain committed to providing a safe and secure environment. I want to extend my deepest appreciation to our staff, our Chief of Police, the Bloomington Police Department, and our school resource officers and administrators for their efforts in ensuring the safety of everyone in our schools. If you want to know more about how our schools handle safety, I encourage you to go to our school safety website at mccsc.edu/safety. As always, if you see something, say something. I am thankful and grateful that every one of our 10,000 plus students and 2,000 plus employees were able to go home to their family's safety, and that is the ultimate measure of success. I'd also like to take a moment to provide an inclement weather update. I probably don't really need to give you an update, we're all experiencing it, but due to the unprecedented weather event over the last several days and the corresponding snow and wind chill and unpassable roads throughout our county in particular, but even within the city, we did have to cancel school yesterday, and we were thankful to be able to have a snow day. We were not quite certain whether or not there would be power outages yesterday, but we were in close communication with Duke and other authorities. In order to make up yesterday's day, we will have school on Monday, February 16th, President's Day. January is School Board Appreciation Month, and I'd like to take this opportunity to thank our trustees for the very many hours away from their families that you take each and every month in support of our schools. I'd like to extend a special thank you to our own community partners, Mark Slayton, who provided the crumble cookies. I cannot take credit for it as much as I would like to. And so we're very appreciative of that partnership as well. And my final update is one that continues with the work that we've been engaged in for many, many months. Who has the clicker? Will you click for me? Yep. Okay, just realized I can't click. So tonight, I'm pleased to share another important step forward in our commitment to transparency, accountability, and strong financial stewardship. MCCSC is launching a new financial transparency portal. Every dollar, every student. It is a clear, user-friendly online hub where families, employees, and community members can easily see how our corporation is funded and how we invest every dollar to support student success. The portal brings together annual budgets, revenue and expenditure reports, explanations of state funding categories, referendum spending, and updates on bond-funded capital projects. You know, all those things that are very confusing, and it's all in one accessible location. Our goal is really simple, to make school finance understandable for every member of our community. It's that important. This portal aligns directly with our board's priority of achieving fiscal balance through clarity, strong internal controls, and responsible long-term planning. We want our community to have confidence that MCCSC is managing resources wisely and communicating openly. We are proud to offer this new tool, and we believe that it will strengthen trust, improve understanding, and deepen our partnership with the community that we serve. The Financial Transparency Portal will launch this week on our website. So I'd like to take a moment to walk you through a few slides that highlight our goals for this new portal. This new resource, Every Dollar, Every Student, is designed to help everyone understand the basics of school finance. And as you see here, this just kind of highlights the fact that we recognize it's not an easy thing to understand, and there are hundreds of misunderstandings relative to school finance, and we want to focus on trying to demystify some of that, so that when we engage in conversation and dialogue, that we have some common background. At the heart of this portal is financial transparency. Our Board of School Trustees has made a commitment to achieving fiscal balance. We believe that part of fiscal stewardship is about accountability and about transparency. And we want to make sure that you have access to information about our operating funds, capital, referendum, and our bond funds as well. Next slide. This will become a central hub for all of MCCSC finances. The strategy for doing that is for us to have sound financial decision making. If you go to this website, it will be publicly available as early as tomorrow. It is designed for parents, staff, employees, and our community partners so that you can understand exactly where we are with our finances. Our intention is to update it regularly with current as well as historical data. We want this portal to serve as your one-stop shop location for all things school finances in MCCSC. Right now, there are a number of key features. We have the 2026 budget already loaded that's been approved by the DLGF. We are thinking about this in terms of School Finance 101. What are the 5 main buckets? And you heard Mr. Irwin talk about some of those key buckets this evening. We think it's important to have an FAQ section so that the questions that we commonly receive are also here on the website to help and assist folks in expanding their understanding. We've done a lot of work around communicating the referenda dollars that we've received and how we're spending those dollars, but most importantly, the impact that those dollars are having. And then you'll see information about our two-year strategy. We will continue to expand our portal by providing additional information over time. In the next couple of months, we will be uploading our 2025 revenue and expenditures. We're in the process of finalizing those reports, and they'll be submitted to the DLGF within the next several days, quite honestly. And we want to be able to provide information about our bond and capital projects. And so next month, we anticipate sharing that information with you and highlighting how is it that we are able to pay for renovations and construction projects. And as you heard from Mr. Irwin, there's not a single dollar from any referenda that goes towards those projects. We believe that this portal will be helpful to our community as well as to our students. Families will better understand how dollars are spent. We will better understand the impact that they have on the children that we are serving. And importantly, our taxpayers will see how public funds are being used responsibly. In our portal, you will find a few things. You'll find the FAQs about our finances and how the dollars support our students. You will see our budget and exactly what our budget dollars look like and the allocation of those dollars. You will also see the FAQ information where we begin to ask and answer specific questions. A common question is, how can we afford construction projects if we're receiving fewer dollars in these other areas? And we are able to do that because of our debt service fund and because of the bonds that we've been able to sell based upon the approval of this board. I think it's important to know that the work that we're doing is protecting our property tax dollars that must be used for voter-approved purposes. The referenda dollars that we have, there are certain provisions that our community approved, and we want to make sure that we are continuing to align with that. Additional FAQs continue to talk about what does that look like. And so these are the examples of the kinds of questions that you will see so that we can help you to understand how and why we are being strategic, how we are spending those dollars, and what kind of impact at the end of the day they're having on our children. In terms of what's next, we will have this published shortly in the next couple of days. Phase 2 of this portal will roll out in February, the building and renovation and our bond work. And in March, we'll have more information about the last couple of years' spending reports that will, by that point in time, have been finalized by the state. We anticipate that this is going to continue to evolve and to grow, and we will make additional enhancements. I think it's important for you to know that our promise is to continue to keep our students at the center, to maintain transparency by sharing this level of accountability. We want to make sure that we hear from our community. We don't want this to just service our needs. We want to make sure that we are listening intently to what additional information would be beneficial for our community to see here. And I think at the end of the day, it's important to know that we believe that every dollar, every student, every day matters. And so we're very excited to roll this out. I'd like to just take a quick moment to thank Matt Irwin, our Chief Financial Officer, Adam Terwilliger, our Assistant Director of the Budget Office, and Sarah DeWeese for their tireless hours and efforts in putting this together to be able to showcase and to share this level of information with our schools. I wanted to give Mr. Irwin a moment to see if there's anything else that you would like to highlight as we prepare to conclude.
No, I think just the one point is just kind of touching on what Tiana had said before about trying to make it digestible, trying to make it something that is easy to understand and follow along. I think a lot of this information, you find it in different places, whether that's with the DOE or the DOE link portal and Gateway and the DOGF website, all these different places. We're trying to bring this information together in one place, like Dr. Winston said, to make it more accessible, digestible, and easy to find. So we just appreciate, getting feedback from people once they get the chance to look at it, and hopefully it's something that people find useful, whether they're a staff member, a community member, or quite frankly, the board. So thank you.
We encourage you to go to this link and just play around and see what you see and find out what's not there, but know it's a work in progress. I anticipate that we will constantly be updating this, but if you have suggestions, know that we are welcome. We are receptive to hearing those. So thank you very much for the opportunity to share this exciting update with all of you.
Thank you, Dr. Winston, and thanks again, Mr. Irwin, Ms. DeWeese. I don't think Mr. Twilliger is here, but thank you. I know that this was a lot of work, so thank you so much for the work on this. And can I add a thank you to your list of thank yous? I think the members of our facilities team who have been digging us out of the snow for the past couple days, I know that hasn't been an easy job, so I just wanted to add a thank you to them. The next regularly scheduled board meeting will be held on Tuesday, February 24th, 2026. We are adjourned.